launch your boat, Georgie?
Pennywise asked.
I only repeat myself because you really do not seem that eager.
He held it up, smiling. He was wearing a baggy silk suit with great big orange buttons. A bright tie, electric blue, flopped down his front, and on his hands were big white gloves, like the kind Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck always wore. Yes, sure, George said, looking into the storm drain.
Hands a balloon? I've got red and green and yellow and blue.
Do they float?
Float?
The clown's grin widened.
Oh, yes, indeed they do. They float. And there's cotton candy.
George reached. The clown seized his arm, and George saw the clown's face change. What he saw then was terrible enough to make his worst imaginings of the thing in the cellar look like sweet dreams. What he saw destroyed his sanity in one clawing stroke.
They float.
The thing in the drain crooned in a clotted, chuckling voice. It held George's arm in its thick and wormy grip. It pulled George toward that terrible darkness where the water rushed and roared and bellowed as it bore its cargo of storm debris toward the sea. George craned his neck away from that final blackness and began to scream into the rain, to scream mindlessly into the white autumn sky which curved above Derry on that day in the fall of 1957. His screams were shrill and piercing, and all up and down Witcham Street, people came to their windows or bolted out onto their porches.
They float,
it growled.
They float, Georgie. And when you're down here with me, you'll float too.
George's shoulders socked against the cement of the curb, and Dave Gardner, who had stayed home from his job at the shoe boat that day because of the flood, saw only a small boy in a yellow rain slicker. A small boy who was screaming and writhing in the gutter, with muddy water surfing over his face, making his screaming sound bubbly.
Everything down here floats,
that chuckling, rotten voice whispered, and suddenly there was a ripping noise and a flaring sheet of agony, and George Denver knew no more. Dave Gardner was the first to get there, and although he arrived only 45 seconds after the first scream, George Denver was already dead. Gardner grabbed him by the back of the slicker, pulled him into the street, and began to scream himself as George's body turned over in his hands. The left side of George's slicker was now bright red. Blood flowed into the storm drain from the tattered hole where his left arm had been. A knob of bone, horribly bright, peeked through the torn cloth. The boy's eyes stared up into the white sky, and as Dave staggered away toward the others already running pell-mell down the street, they began to fill with rain.